Joined now on the Image Printing Hotline by Harry Lennix. Most folks may know him as the as Assistant Director Harold Cooper on The Blacklist. Thank you so much for coming on the program with us this morning, Harry.
Tyler, great to be with you. I hope everything's going great down there in South Carolina. You guys are a bellwether all of a sudden politically.
Absolutely. Big things going on down here. And, of course, you've been in a lot of movies over the years. You were part of the Matrix trilogy. You did Man of Steel, one of the Superman movies. You've done a lot of stuff in your career. What's one of the favorite projects you've worked on so far?
Well, I would have to say, I have a couple of favorites. That is, I have emotional favorites. I have dramatic favorites. But probably the thing that means the most to me as an actor is probably Titus, where I got to act opposite Jessica Lange and Anthony Hopkins and my dear friend Angus McFadden. It's Titus Andronicus. We shot it in 98, 99 in Rome, Italy. We did some shooting in Croatia, where we shot in the Colosseum because the Roman Colosseum doesn't have a floor. So we went over there, and it was 3 months of tremendous, great opportunity doing Shakespeare in a foreign country, learning a language, eating lots of pasta, and acting with some of my very favorite actors of all time. So that was probably, I would probably put that right up at the top.
So, you talk about the movies, you talk about TV. The TV show that you're currently working on has become absolutely my favorite television program right now, and that's The Blacklist on NBC. Talk a little bit about that program and what led you to that show.
It was a very interesting thing, Tyler. I was just about to hang up my spurs, so to speak. I had been sort of knocked back on a number of projects as an actor, and I was getting a little frustrated. I'd been in the business for decades at that point, and I couldn't understand why all of a sudden I was, paying for metered parking on the streets of Los Angeles, and waiting online with 50 other guys for somebody half my age. And so I told my manager, with whom I went to school at Northwestern, I said, I'm out. If I don't get anything decent in the next week or so, I'm going to hang up my acting, spurs, as I said, and go back to school and get my degree in divinity or music. And the next day, literally, she said, "Don't quit yet. Go down the street. It's only a couple of blocks from you, and do a reading of this new show that they're trying to put on." And literally, the next day, I was on a flight to New York City to shoot the pilot of The Blacklist. So it happened really overnight. And I have to tell you, I looked at it as a kind of divine intervention. I kind of, after you do this thing for 30 years or so, I've been a professional actor since I was 19 years old. And at that time, I just didn't want to have to keep reinventing the wheel every time I went in for an audition. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's even necessary at this point, really. So I took it as a sign from God, and here we are 7 years later.
The Blacklist has been renewed for an 8th season. You've shot 150 episodes. What is it that makes this show so successful?
If I ever figure that out, Tyler, I'm going to be a very rich person. I think it's, but my formula for it has always been the acting, led by James Spader, of course, a masterful actor. The intrigue, it's a very intriguing story. There's all kinds of rabbit holes that we go down. We kind of scrounge around in there, and then we pop up and go in a different direction. And then the action. I think we do a very good job of keeping people on their toes. With a very interesting rogues gallery of characters who are the blacklisters, and that never really gets old. There's all sorts of interesting personality types out there that we can mine, to keep the stories interesting. So I think with those three elements, we've got a winning formula.
The final question about The Blacklist. James Spader, is he as cool in real life as Raymond Reddington?
I don't think anybody's as cool in real life as Raymond Reddington.
Absolutely.
I really don't. I don't even think Bootsy Collins is as cool as Raymond. But that said, James Spader is very cool. He's extremely intelligent, extremely professional, cordial, courteous man. And it's really a great pleasure to work with him. He's a very generous actor, always wants to make sure that people are feeling comfortable when they are on his set, which is he's kind of the boss of that set. He's an executive producer. He is a for detail. So you always know that his input is going to make things better, and it's really a great honor to work with.
Harry Lennix joins us on the Image Printing Hotline. A few years ago, you started your own movie production company. Talk to us a little bit about that and your latest project titled Revival.
Yes, thank you. I did start a production company called Exponent Media Group with my partner, Steve Harris, another native Chicagoan, although on the west, he's from the west side, and I'm from the south side. But we came together because we wanted to take part in making movies that we want to see, represent a point of view that isn't often represented, to tell stories from our own point of view, and that are about things that we consider important. And so Revival is really a kind of homage to the Black church experience. But not just that, it's also a very faithful rendering of the book of John, which is an eyewitness account of the life and ministry of Jesus Christ, written by somebody we call John, probably not the person's name, but that said, it is an eyewitness account. And we took the Black gospel music experience and applied it in the narrative form to the greatest story ever told. And in our effort, we were able to get all kinds of assistance from people like Mali Music, who's a great gospel artist and crossover artist now. Shaka Khan, of course, another Chicagoan, a genius, gifted singer. Wendy Raquel Robinson, Takia Kima, Dawn Lewis, all from hot television shows in the 80s and 90s, and even now. Kenny Lattimore, recording artist in his own right. So we were able to get people who have a background in singing this music, a background that I did not share, incidentally. I studied to be a Catholic priest when I was in high school. But in order to get this story off the ground, it took a mighty, mighty effort, and it took a lot more resources than I originally thought would be necessary. But I'm so glad that it took the course that it did, because the result has been quite wonderful. And in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of Christ's journey himself. Here's a guy from nowhere, some little backwater called Nazareth, and a couple of thousand years later, he is the most important person to have ever lived. I don't even know how many, 3.5 billion Christians in the world, something along those lines. So it's the world's most popular religion, started from a guy who nobody had ever heard of. And many people to this day don't even necessarily believe existed. But something happened back there, and something is happening now on screen, and we're able to bring Revival to light. And it's available now, starting to stream, of course. You can go to Revival, the movie, to find out which Walmarts and all of the other platforms that it's on.